Hello, passionate Golden State Warriors fans. Welcome to another special coverage of what's happening behind the scenes of our beloved franchise. Before we dive deep into the latest updates, become part of our community. Like this video and subscribe to the channel right now. Here, you won't miss a single detail of what truly matters when it comes to the Warriors. Let's get straight to the point. In an off-season full of rumors, blockbuster signings, and aggressive moves all across the Western Conference, the silence surrounding the Golden State Warriors is almost deafening. While other teams are reshaping their rosters with bold trades and surgical acquisitions, the Warriors remain in a waiting mode, and for many fans, this is becoming frustrating. 2 weeks have already passed since the start of the free agency window, and so far the front office has only presented a qualifying offer extension for Jonathan Kuminga and the quiet arrival of a few second-round picks inherited from the old Kevin Durant trade. Nothing more. No impactful moves, no big names, just an uncomfortable silence amid the deafening noise of rivals strengthening their squads. What unsettles fans the most is that, not long ago, the Warriors were synonymous with boldness behind the scenes. They were the reference for how to operate smartly in the market. Now that image feels more and more distant, and the longer time passes without a firm decision, the greater the sense of urgency. Because we all know, Steph Curry's time is not infinite. Curry remains one of the most unique talents in basketball history. But the clock doesn't stop. Age catches up, the body takes its toll, and the window to chase another title with this winning core is narrowing. Decisions can't be postponed much longer. There's no room for patience when the West is getting stronger by the minute. Draymond Green is still the defensive heartbeat of the team, but the wear and tear from years of battles takes its toll. And the addition of Jimmy Butler last year seemed like the beginning of an ambitious turn, an attempt to emulate their own last dance. But without real support, without adjustments, without depth, that dance may not even begin. The second-round playoff exit served as a wake-up call. Injuries played a part, of course, but the roster as a whole showed it no longer has the same energy to compete with young, strong, and motivated teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves. All the signs were there, something needed to change, and yet, the roster for next season remains practically the same. The top free agents have already been signed. Impactful options are scarce. And now, the Warriors face the reality that if they truly want to contend again, they will need to take risks, perhaps even giving up promising young players or future draft picks. This is where the rumors and speculation begin. One name that has gained strong momentum recently is Lauri Markkanen. The Utah Jazz forward has been the subject of discussions all across the league. Even though the Jazz haven't officially made him available for trades, the rumors are constant. And we know how this game works. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Markkanen would be a major addition for the Warriors. Tall, with a solid shot, off-ball movement, court presence, he fits like a glove in the quick-pass, motion-based system that Golden State values. He's not a primary playmaker, but alongside a facilitator like Curry, he could become a devastating weapon. His numbers dipped slightly last season, but everything depends on context. In Utah, he didn't have a playmaker of Steph's caliber to create good shooting opportunities. In Golden State, he'd have the space, rhythm, and chances to take his game to another level. The problem, of course, is the cost. Rumors suggest Utah won't let him go for cheap. And here comes the dilemma. Jonathan Kuminga. He's one of the few young players with real star potential. Trading that future for a shot at winning now may be painful, but perhaps necessary. Another name that frequently comes up in internal team discussions is Nick Claxton, an athletic center, rim protection specialist, capable of running the floor and setting solid screens. He would be an interesting way to replace Kevin Looney, who left a significant gap both defensively and in team spirit. Claxton doesn't provide spacing. His shot is limited, practically non-existent outside the paint. But his durability and physical presence could make the difference. He's played over 70 games in recent seasons, which is no small feat in today's league. The question is, does he fit the Warriors' future, or is he just a short-term fix? Another option that comes up as a low-risk bet is DeAnthony Melton. The player went through a serious injury, but before that, he was considered one of the best defenders at his position and a reliable shooter. If signed on a low deal, he could be a valuable bench addition, especially to give Curry some rest and offer more perimeter options. And of course, there's young center Walker Kessler, a true defensive wall who has already shown elite potential protecting the rim. At 23 years old, his ceiling remains sky high. But once again, the Utah Jazz are an obstacle. The price for Kessler might be exorbitant. 2 first-round picks would be the starting point. That's a huge risk, especially if he doesn't develop offensively. Now, if there's one name that truly sends chills down the spine behind the scenes, in a good way, it's LeBron James. Just the mention of his name brings rumors to life. Word is, LeBron is unhappy with the Lakers' direction and might consider leaving. If that happens, and if he's willing to join Curry for one final title run, it would be one of the most impactful stories in recent NBA history. The trade would be complex. It would involve several pieces, maybe even Jimmy Butler, and would require a complete salary cap restructuring. But in terms of immediate impact, nothing compares to it. It would be a union of 2 of the greatest players of the modern era, a move capable of shifting the course of an entire season. It's still a distant dream, but the NBA has taught us to never rule out the most unlikely scenarios. Meanwhile, the Warriors need to decide. Do they sit back and watch time slip away, or do they act and aim for something great while the window is still open? Before we continue with the next part, pause for a second. Hit the like button and subscribe. That's the only way to ensure you don't miss the next chapters of this behind-the-scenes saga in San Francisco. While the backstage buzzes with speculation about established names, another rumor is gaining traction and dividing opinions. A name that, although still considered a prospect, has the potential to become a global phenomenon and could represent a new chapter within the Warriors. We're talking about Kai Sotto. That's right, the young giant from the Philippines, who has slowly been drawing the attention of NBA scouts, is emerging as a possible new addition to the San Francisco franchise. And although still shrouded in uncertainty, this rumor is already stirring the international basketball community. According to unconfirmed sources, Kai Sotto is reportedly negotiating a 4-year contract with the Warriors. If this is true, it would be a move as bold as it is symbolic. In an off-season where the Warriors have been accused of standing still, such a move would represent an investment in the future and a bet on a narrative that transcends the game itself, the globalization of basketball and the power of representation. Sotto is not just a tall center with solid fundamentals. He represents an entire nation. He carries on his shoulders the dream of millions of Filipinos who have been waiting for decades for a standout name in the NBA. And placing him on one of the league's most iconic franchises would not only change his career, but would also strengthen the Golden State Warriors' global presence, especially in Asia. But this potential signing raises an interesting question. How would Kai Sotto fit into the current Warriors roster? He doesn't yet have experience at the highest level, and the pressure of wearing a Golden State jersey could be overwhelming. On the other hand, the environment in San Francisco is known for developing talent, especially those who arrive hungry to learn. Being alongside Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and under the guidance of a coaching staff that's used to transforming athletes into key pieces could accelerate Sotto's development. Imagine the impact this would have on Warriors culture and the next generation of fans. He could also start with limited minutes, gaining confidence and court time gradually, without having to carry the team right away. From a tactical standpoint, Sotto offers something few players his age do. Above-average basketball IQ, a smooth shooting stroke, and strong defensive instincts. He's not your typical big man. He has mobility, court vision, and a natural instinct for blocking shots. Of course, his body still needs to adjust to the NBA's physical pace, but the potential is there, waiting to be refined. The question remains about the truth behind the deal. So far, nothing has been officially announced. No confirmation from the franchise or Sotto's agent. This could mean that talks are just beginning, or that the Warriors prefer to operate away from the spotlight, something we've seen before. Often, major announcements come out of nowhere, like a sudden explosion no one expected. Social media has already exploded with the possibility. Filipino fans are mobilized, anxious, following every post related to the Warriors. Videos of Kai Soto wearing Dubs jerseys are already circulating online, along with edits and supportive messages, all feeding into the atmosphere of anticipation. The Bay Area fan base, in turn, is divided. Some see the signing as symbolic, a low-risk, high-reward move, while others demand focus on proven names. The truth is that betting on Kai Soto could be more than a sports move. It could be a global marketing strategy, a demonstration that the Warriors are thinking about the future, even as they try to make the most of the Curry era. And it wouldn't be the first time the franchise blends youth with experience to create something new. There's also another important strategic point. If the Warriors truly believe Soto can develop into a starting center in 2 or 3 years, it may mean the team has already begun preparing for the inevitable, the transition, the post-Curry, the post-Draymond. Having someone with that kind of potential already familiar with the system, the culture, and the locker room could be essential in the near future. But while this negotiation remains in the realm of possibility, the present still demands decisions. The off-season waits for no one. Rivals are making moves. With each passing day, the options shrink. The window is closing. And as exciting as Kai Soto's arrival may be, on its own it doesn't solve the urgency hanging over the current roster. Let's go back to the immediate scenario. Golden State still needs to fill critical gaps: front court depth, perimeter defense, consistent shooting, and, above all, physical presence. Teams like Denver and Minnesota present physical challenges that the Warriors simply couldn't match last season. Solutions must be found to respond to that kind of demand. One name that could re-enter the radar, albeit with less buzz, is Jalen Smith, a young player who had some intriguing moments with the Pacers and who could be a low-cost addition with strong upside. Smith has size, athleticism, and an underrated ability to space the floor. He's not the kind of name that makes headlines, but he could surprise. Another quiet yet viable alternative is Tyus Jones, a point guard who rarely makes mistakes, makes smart decisions, and can maintain offensive rhythm when Curry is off the court. If the Warriors want to reduce their total dependence on Steph, Jones could be a quiet but crucial piece. The biggest challenge here is aligning the front office's expectations with financial reality. The cap is tight. The payroll is among the highest in the league. Every move needs to be weighed with extreme caution. A poorly calculated contract now could hurt the team for the next 3 seasons. In this context, perhaps the answer doesn't lie in a blockbuster signing, but in a series of precise adjustments: a more balanced roster, a more reliable bench, a rotation less dependent on heroes. The era of super teams may have shifted, but the need for depth remains constant for any team that wants to lift the trophy. Furthermore, the emotional factor can't be ignored. The fans are growing impatient, and rightfully so. They saw the team exit the playoffs without brilliance, watched rivals grow stronger, and witnessed the front office remain silent. Amid all this, they need hope. They need a spark to reignite excitement. Whether it's through the arrival of a proven veteran or a promising young player like Soto, the Warriors need to offer a clear direction. And speaking of direction, we can't forget the role that the franchise's foundation still plays. Players like Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski haven't yet had the necessary time to show their full value. Perhaps the next leap in quality is closer than we think, already within the roster. But for that to happen, the team needs to believe, needs to give minutes, space, and freedom, needs to bet. And that, perhaps, is the key word for this offseason: bet. Bet on the present with some boldness and on the future with intelligence. This is the crossroads the Warriors find themselves at. One path leads to risk and the possibility of another title. The other, to safety and slow decline. Which trail will they take? That, my friend, only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the world is watching. The Warriors community is on alert. And while silence still lingers in the front office, the anticipation only grows. At this moment of strategic indecision, where every choice carries the weight of a decade, the Golden State Warriors backstage is more tense than ever. And although the front office's silence may suggest calm, the truth is that internal discussions are boiling. The dilemma between going all in to compete now or preserving assets for the future is dividing opinions within the very structure of the franchise. On one side, executives are pushing for a conservative approach. On the other, voices more aligned with Curry's competitive spirit are demanding boldness. And in this tug-of-war, time keeps slipping through their fingers. While their rivals continue to announce reinforcements, the Warriors are still assessing scenarios. The arrival of Kai SOTTO, although not yet official, is seen by some as a symbol of quiet renewal. If the 4-year deal is confirmed, the Filipino center would have enough time to gradually develop without the immediate pressure to deliver results. A medium-term project that could serve as a bridge between two eras, the one ending with Curry and Draymond, and the one potentially beginning with SOTTO, Moody, and other young players still fighting for a place. But while this process slowly unfolds, the fans are demanding answers for the now. After all, it's not just about maintaining a strong foundation for the future. It's also about honoring the legacy of one of the greatest point guards in the history of the game. Stephen Curry cannot end his career on mediocre campaigns. He cannot be forgotten amid the rise of the new Western Conference giants. That's why there's a growing sense inside the front office that some impactful move needs to happen. Even if small, even if symbolic. A signing that shows the fan base and the locker room that the franchise is still in the fight. A piece that can bring fresh energy, confidence, and even reignite the competitive fire that seemed to dim last season. Names like Bojan Bogdanovic, Malcolm Brogdon, and even Jonas Valanciunas have resurfaced in recent days, experienced players with very different skill sets, but all share one thing in common. They could play a complementary starring role without overshadowing Curry or hindering the young player's development. The problem? The cost-benefit. The question remains the same. Is it worth investing assets in veterans who might not be around for the next competitive window? In this context, the front office's management becomes the center of attention, and every move, every statement, or lack thereof, sparks interpretations. Many fans are wondering if Mike Dunleavy Jr. has the boldness required to make decisions that affect the very soul of the roster. Bob Myers, his predecessor, was known precisely for taking risks, for believing, for making bets when no one else dared. Will Dunleavy follow that line, or will he give in to caution? Meanwhile, Curry remains steady. He continues to train, to lead, and to speak little. But internally, everyone knows his clock is ticking. And the worst mistake would be to waste the final years of his prime with an incomplete roster, surrounded by promises that have yet to materialize. That's why even unlikely moves, like the idea of joining forces with LeBron James, still echo in the decision room. It's not just media fantasy. It's the reflection of a silent urgency, a search for solutions, ideas, and alternatives that can bring a spark. If LeBron is indeed uncomfortable with the Lakers, if he truly wants another shot at a ring, who's to say the Warriors wouldn't make the move? They've shocked the world before. Why not now? While all this happens behind the scenes, the media remains watchful. And with every new rumor, the pressure on the front office grows. Fans don't want diplomatic speeches anymore. They want action. They want signs that the upcoming season won't just be another one. They want reasons to believe the franchise is doing everything and more to fight for another title. And amid this sea of uncertainty, Kai SOTTO keeps training, keeps drawing attention, keeps raising expectations. There's no denying it. The mere idea of a player from the Philippines joining the Warriors has already mobilized a legion of new fans, and this could carry not just athletic, but also commercial weight. In an increasingly global league, moves like this are strategic. They open doors, create new markets, and in the long run, they could place the franchise in a privileged position in terms of international visibility and sponsorship. Even so, the most sensitive point remains the alignment between words and actions. It's no use publicly claiming the goal is to fight for a title if the roster doesn't reflect that commitment. It's no use promising reinforcements if the only additions are late draft picks. Credibility is at stake. And now, more than ever, the Warriors need to stay true to their own identity. Bold, creative, visionary. The offseason isn't over yet, but the window is closing. And with each day of silence, the image of a team ready to win again seems further away. The fans want more than promises. They want real moves. They want to feel that the team is alive, hungry, willing to do whatever it takes to lift another trophy. If Kai SOTTO arrives, it will be a breath of fresh air. If a big trade happens, it will be a turning point. If nothing happens, it will be a clear sign that the focus has shifted, that maybe the priority now is rebuilding. And in that case, what remains is to prepare the fan base for a new cycle, with new names, new faces, and an undefined future. But before we end, here's a direct message. Don't wait. Share this video with 3 contacts on WhatsApp and write, "Let's go Warriors," in the comments. Today, you can be the voice that pressures, that supports, that drives change.